Okay, so we're getting ready for the second part of this exam. We're going to start looking at climate change. We watched a Bill Nye video, The Global Meltdown, where he explores some of the problems with human-caused climate change. So we kind of went over some of this. I'm going to put these notes online and the PowerPoint, but we can kind of see that we're going to be looking at climate change, what some of the different gases are, how they get released, and we talked about some of these things earlier in the year. This produces problems with severe weather as well. We talked about sea level rising, which is a huge problem, especially for coastal areas of the planet. We talked about the emissions and how much is being emitted into the atmosphere with these changes, how much we expect the temperatures to change, how the different greenhouse gases absorb and hold on to some of those different amounts of heat. We talked about nitric oxide and with methane, both of them much more efficient at holding on to and trapping heat in comparison to carbon dioxide. We said that water vapor was the most common of the greenhouse gases. We talked about global temperature increase and how that's going to melt the glaciers, and again, sea level rise is one of the biggest impacts. We also talked about how we've had ice ages before in the past, and we have these changes taking place all the time. So these ice ages have been taking place approximately every 100,000 or so years, for about as far back as we can see in the human records. And we look at how we've made changes very quickly to the Earth, and the Earth can't quite adapt to these quick changes that we're making, and we may not see another ice age for up to another 500,000 years or longer. And we can look at some of the pollen records, ice core samples, marine coral and fossil information to find out about that. We also talked about how this is affecting different animals and the extinction of different species, along with how this is going to affect where people live and how people are going to have to move because of the rising sea level. So with that climate change, we also looked into then started looking at some weather maps and how we take surface observations for weather maps. So looking at this as a key, we kind of look at these surface observations, and we see here temperature will always be in the top left, our pressures will always be in the top right. Okay, we look at then the type of precipitation that we're going to have, and the amount of cloud cover, our wind direction, and our wind speed. And they kind of give us then a chart that goes along with that, so we could see two dots in this case did go back to light rain, and the amount of the circle filled in will give us information on our cloud cover. So we could see a very overcast day in the example here. We look at our wind direction. In this case, we'd say north, south, east, and west. So this wind out of the east, and looking at these two bars coming down, we'd say that that wind is 25 knots out of the east. So we did a couple examples of that where we looked at a weather map and kind of matched up that information to that.